School's around the corner and you need to smell Superfly. Hey forum, Manny back here with another video on the CascadeScents fragrance station, and this one is on my top 5 back to school fragrances. And just to quickly clarify, any of the fragrances I'm about to mention I think are good for both high school and college use. But what makes a great school fragrance? Firstly, it has to be budget friendly. You are a student after all, that should be your full-time gig. So don't break the bank too hard on a fragrance, especially if it's one that you're gonna run out of because you'll probably wear it nearly every day. But what about the actual scent itself? For the most part, it should be school/office safe yet really friendly. You're a young person that probably wants to make really positive first impressions, but you also kind of want to be modest about the educational/professional environment that you're in. So please, no absolute club bangers at the school. This ain't the place to be choking people out. But with that being said, we do have a lot to get through, so we might as well start off at the bottom of the list here. Here's Play Intense by Givenchy. To me, this stuff is half reminiscent of the standard Givenchy play with its fresh opening and transition into the bass, but the bass itself is more reminiscent of Legend by Michael Jordan or Rojas Man by Rojas. Totally syrupy and breakfast-like with gourmandy notes like coffee and tonka. That being said, it's not overblown syrupy and sickly in any way, and it's a rather modest performer as far as projection. As a result, you have a rather modest yet awesome feedback all-star here. And for many months, especially during the cooler months, it was my signature scent as well. But yeah, I'll always have a bottle of this stuff in my fragrance wardrobe, and if I was still in school, I'd definitely be rocking this a lot more. It's Givenchy's Play Intense at number 5. Alright y'all, moving on to my number 4 back to school fragrance. Here's one of my favorites, Gucci Pour Homme by Gucci. Guys, I honestly don't believe that Gucci has released as good a men's fragrance since this stuff in 2007, but to this day, this stuff is looked to as the men's tea fragrance, and for good reason. It's a unique combination of spices, tobacco, myrrh, violet leaves, and of course that tea that makes for a super at ease, comforting scent that I know and love. I just think that the blend is beautifully balanced, and it almost feels like equal parts of all of those aforementioned notes. Also, it just might be the least disrespectful fragrance that I own outside of a Mugler cologne type of fragrance, and again, that fact is very imperative for a school or professional-like environment. So with that being said, and it has enough longevity to run through my mornings into afternoons, that's why it's my number 4 fragrance here. It's Gucci Pour Homme by Gucci. Now moving on to my number 3 spot, this is not only one of the most versatile fragrances in my collection, but one of the most versatile fragrances period. It's Individuel by Mont Blanc. Again, versatile, but also a feedback all-star. Individuel takes the Yop Homme style of club sweetness, but puts it at ease with a higher emphasis on fresher and more aromatic elements. Honestly guys, it's simple, extra sprays for going out and less sprays for going to class. So still night out worthy, but potentially professional as well, depending on your demeanor and spray count. But also, just so you know, if you don't know already, Creed has a clone of this fragrance called Original Santal. And I emphasize the word clone because this stuff predates it, and that stuff really eerily feels like this. Sure, that stuff has a little bit better of quality ingredients in contrast to this, but honestly, you're gonna wear this, you get a little bit more performance out of it. And scent cloud wise, not directly off of your skin, but scent cloud wise, it's going to feel nearly identical. And that's not just my results, but I'd say at least 90% of everyone else's. But as always, results will vary, and maybe you'll find a nuance or two that you really like out of Original Santal in contrast to this, but I just feel like that this is a way better sell, and it's way better times a million as far as dollar per ml value wise. That's why it's on the list. Again, the Jeremy Fragrance Special, Mont Blanc Individuel at number 3. Now moving on to my number 2 back to school fragrance, here it is, Barfly by Scotch and Soda. Now you guys have heard me talk about this one before, and you know that I'm a sucker for sandalwood fragrances, and for a mall designer scent, I think it's really done well here. So definitely creamy sandalwood along with other sweet nuances in the base, but it's just fresh and aromatic too in the most youthful ways, so that I really do like. It also has pretty decent sillage for the first couple hours when people are getting a whiff of it when I walk by, or if we're going in for hugs and kisses, and as a result, its pleasant aroma has resulted in positive feedback for me. That being said, I really do wish that I had this during my college years. I just really love its sophisticated yet youthful vibe, and it would have been in the running for my signature scent at the time. Just totally preppy and rich boy, but in the least disparaging way possible. I'm not trying to sound douchey here. But you know what it is if you didn't know already. It is Barfly by Scotch and Soda, my number 2 back to school fragrance. But before I get to my number one back to school fragrance, I do have an honorable mention that I would like to make. It's Invictus Aqua by Paco Rabanne. Overall, honestly, I think it's really hard to doubt this stuff's back to school potential. Playful enough with the Invictus bubblegum vibe, but it's not blatant enough to be mistaken as common as the original in my experience, which is probably in part to how equal parts fresh it actually is. With the added yuzu and marine notes, you have a citrusy, sweet, aquatic all-star. So definitely a positive feedback getter in my experience too, probably more than any of the other fragrances on this list. So you're probably wondering now, why is this an honorable mention? Well, if you aren't already aware, Invictus Aqua is now actually discontinued, as it was only a 2016 summer limited edition release. Pretty much sold only at places like Macy's and not many other retailers actually. And once they ran out of stock, that was pretty much it. Which is really unfortunate, because I really do believe that the Invictus line is definitely now in need of another Aqua, another Sport, another O kind of fragrance, you know what I'm talking about? I just really do feel like this stuff was the real deal for Paco Rabanne. I definitely thought it could have been a hit mainstream wise, but you know, Paco Rabanne screwed up again. But if you can potentially find this unofficially still, like at a discount outlet in real life or online, definitely jump on it. If you don't like it, at the very least you have some trade or resale value. So yeah, it's just that awesome. Invictus Aqua, my honorable mention by Paco Rabanne. But now it's time for my number one back to school fragrance. If it's not Invictus Aqua, it wasn't any of the other ones on this list, and trust me, it's not going to be one of the modern day generics out there. So what could it actually be now? Believe it or not, this is not a joke, and I'm not sure if anyone else has actually announced this fragrance on YouTube ever yet. Here it is. Zen for Men White Heat Edition by Shiseido. Yep, Shiseido, the Japanese cosmetics brand, the brand that even launched BPI, the label that launched the perfumes of Issey Miyake, Narciso Rodriguez, Elie Saab, and even Jean-Paul Gaultier. To me, this one is their finest right here, and Zen for Men White Heat Edition opens up with a kind of similar freshness to Invictus Aqua, but instead of that long-lasting yuzu citrus and marine notes, you now have some mint and a Hasaku orange. The Hasaku is really bright and sweet, kind of like a mandarin orange. It's just really pleasant. Super lovely stuff in combination with the mint, which is actually kind of long lasting, because I'll get whiffs of it 1 to 2 hours in, which is better than most mints I know. And then you have some greener, manlier notes in the mid, and that is also kind of pleasant too. But if this stuff has a weakness, it is kind of underwhelming in the base. It has a kind of sorry excuse for a sandalwood note, but until it gets there, trust me, it is actually so pleasant, and I'm really loving it lately. So definitely one of my more favorite random finds ever. Definitely worthy of classroom or professional status with its somewhat subdued but still playful vibe. And yes, I've been getting really good feedback with this lately as well. So definitely give this a shot if you haven't yet, especially if you're into that Invictus Aqua or L'Odyssée pour Homme type of yuzu. I think at the very least you'll really like this opening here. I just wish it lasted longer if anything. But yeah, you know what it is now. I've even put a good dent into this bottle. It's Shiseido's Zen for Men White Heat Edition, my number one back to school fragrance. So again, your winner is Zen for Men White Heat Edition by Shiseido. This stuff is honestly just addicting for me, like, oh man, and this sprayer is crazy. But as always, give this and the rest a shot if you haven't yet. I think they're a lot of fun. Hopefully you find something for yourself. And if you're no longer in school like me, what would you actually wear to school nowadays? I'd really love to know too. And please subscribe and thumbs up if you haven't yet. It really helps the channel a lot, and I'd really appreciate it too. So that about does it for me. I hope you enjoyed my top 5 back to school fragrances this year. Thank you as always for your time, and I will see you next time. Take care, peace out, bye. Wear your fragrances.